Let's see who shows up today to watch our lovely coffee conversation. We didn't get a chance to send you coffee,
but we will.
Simple thing. Yeah, we will send you coffee in the future. Usually, what we do is we send coffee out to people from the local roastery here in New Brighton, so they can have a little taste of New Brighton with them when they're.
I'm excited. Well, you know I'm a coffee snob, right?
Are you?
Oh my gosh, I get my beans, and I've actually been ordering my beans from one store that roasts them 5 miles away, and I will only buy them if they've been roasted within a week. The date on the package has to be fresh. In fact, I know the delivery comes on Mondays, so I go on Tuesdays to the shop to buy my special beans. Ethiopian single origin, Misty Valley, rinsed, air dried. I use a Chemex. They have to be ground and put in the Chemex immediately with the water at exactly 190 degrees.
You are a snob.
Oh, making coffee in the morning is an ordeal. My wife's like, "Are you going to make coffee for an hour?" I'm like, "No."
All right, so you want whole bean. All right, because I can get your whole bean.
Oh, yeah, whole bean for sure.
Yeah, I'll get you a whole bean. They have some booze. They have the stuff that the monkeys poop out.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah, maybe I'll get you some of that. You didn't know
that's like supposed to be the best coffee in the world. Yeah, I thought it was from bats.
Well, maybe it is bat.
Well, I don't want anything from a bat right now.
No, you don't want that right now. No, that's not. No,
not coming from a bat right now.
No, you don't want coffee from a bat right now. I think it's mice. I'll ask the kids down at Hallowed Grounds.
We went from monkeys to bats to mice.
I forget what it is.
I question any bean that comes out of anybody's butt. So
I could send America a text message and say, "Hey, what coffee comes out of butts?"
Are people watching us talk about this? Is this really happening?
Yes.
As I said, Jen usually keeps me from going off the rails. Well, so I am completely free.
How about that? You could introduce our guest.
Oh, hey, why don't you introduce our guest?
No.
Okay, hey everybody, it's Richard
at
the Bright Music Center. We are here today with John Miylzyboy, Managing Director of Note Flight, a Hal Leonard company, and previously served as Director of Education for Personas Audio, where he developed curriculum, products, and marketing strategy for music education technology. Does it sound about right, John?
Wow, look at that. You know me so well.
Always. So how is your COVID going?
Well, I don't have COVID, so that's about as good as it can go right now.
That is really as good as
obviously being an online company, it was not that hard for us to work remotely. I travel a lot for conferences and various presentations, so I'm used to working from a laptop. So as far as a personal transition, it's not that bad. It's been it really makes you realize just taking your company from home and moving how much you just depend on being around people, how much it means just to know that they're there, even if you're not directly interacting all the time. And it's just interesting. I'm finding that we do like company lunches via Google Hangouts. We do a Friday afternoon cocktail hour. It's just, it's always, you don't realize how much things matter until they're gone. And I think we're realizing that as a society in so many ways, right? We need each other, and like, how much is the economy? I mean, even in a digital world, I think we all thought, the thing that drives me like batty, I say bad again, is that I think we all thought that the next big, crisis was going to be someone's going to figure out how to take down the internet, right? Like some hacker is going to be, like virtual warfare, find a way to hack Amazon or Google, and the whole thing goes down. But in its huge just twist of irony, it is suddenly like all we have is the internet and virtual connections, and it's the physical connections, and even being close to someone in any space is what's driving. Like, I don't think anyone was prepared for that. And it's so interesting, as much as the internet has, powered the world, and how could we survive this if it was 60 years ago? I mean, just think about that economically. But as much as we think technology connects us, which it does, it's let us know the value of personal interactions and how much those are still so powerful for just our well-being. And I think it's also given everyone sort of the kick into using technology that we've all needed. So I think we're going to come out. I think we're going to come out of this in a really positive way, and that people are going to be using technology in new, innovative ways, especially in education, which I'm sure we'll get on. But also, we will have a great appreciation for how much people mean to us.
Oh,
maybe everyone will just be nicer.
Yeah. I said, and human beings as social people, I think we're realizing, because everybody, well, at least I always jokingly said that I hate people. And that, of course, is not true. Because like when we go to the park for walks, everybody's saying hi to everybody, maintaining social distancing and physical distancing but everybody's just so happy to see another human being
Mhm.
in their physical space that they're like, yeah, I think it's going to change. And like you said, that's what Richard and I keep hoping, is that everybody will be a little bit kinder on
Yeah.
the backside of this.
Yeah, I mean, we find that we miss our staff here, and we do the same things. We don't do it as much as I should be doing it, but we're doing virtual meetings and hangouts and stuff. And obviously, this technology here that we're using is amazing and is getting better as the days go by, with more backbone behind it. And I've said several times during these shows that I think what we're seeing is what was really going to happen 5 years from now is now accelerated. So with all the technology and all the stuff, because it's a need right now, right? It's a have to do this right now kind of thing. So I really think that's a really cool thing.
Right. It's interesting with the arts. I hope people also come to a really great realization of how much we depend on the arts, music, performances, and even the arts is like going to a bar and having a music play, a band in the corner, going to a symphony, going to a show, going to a play. All of these different dance performances. I mean, the arts empower us so much. Even going to a museum. I mean, like, we can't go these places. I think we realize as a culture how much we miss that, and how powerful that is. And so I really hope we come out of this with just like an incredible thirst and appetite, like starved for the arts, and like we come out of this with just like music everywhere, and like more people going to see music and supporting it, because we realize how important it is to our world. And there's a lot of amazing musicians right now that depend on all of these people that that come to their shows, and I'm heartbroken for every musician that doesn't have an audience.
Yeah, that is one of those things. We can't wait to get the live music back and all those kind of performances. I know I run sound for a lot of musical theater, and I've already been canceled for the summer, and so that's done already. But hopefully we'll get back up and running soon. But you never know. I mean, there was an announcement today. I guess we're still one of the red states, which means we don't get to open. The yellow states do get to open on
Right.
the 8th. So we're a couple weeks behind, hopefully, and we'll get to open back up, and then hopefully the bars will get open back up, and that kind of thing. So we're all looking forward to that. So Note Flight, what exactly, for those who are watching our show, what is Note Flight exactly?
Noteflight is a web-based music notation software, and as you can imagine, in incredibly high demand right now. And it's really interesting that Noteflight was founded in end of 2008, so coming up on our really 12th year of being a web-based music notation product. We have more offerings too. We have an education platform that integrates with Google Classroom, with other learning management systems. We have premium, Noteflight Premium, Noteflight Free. We have a marketplace where people can buy and sell music legally and digitally, and adapt music for their needs. And so as people are trying to make music from home and try to find music to make work for them, and of course teach music from home, Noteflight is really an ideal solution. And it's been fun for us because we've been at this for years, and I've been teaching music technology for over 10 years. And even at a time when I started teaching music technology, I was in Louisiana at the time, the State Department came down and said, this is not a course. There was nothing called music technology on the course roster at all. So they said, call it general music and teach what you want. I said, no, I'm gonna take the physical challenge. I'll go for the hard road and go for the fight. I'm gonna get the red flag at the end. So I'm gonna go, and I went and made an approved course in the state for music tech. So it's I like to say I was cool before cool was cool. But having said that, we've at Noteflight, we've built these tools, and there are teachers out there that have and have had the luxury already to be able to have online learning, to have students with one-to-one devices, to be able to have a program where you can include composition and theory, and have students create their own music, share their own music, record online, and use all these tools. And there's a lot of programs that have just been stayed in the traditional model, which is fine. Now that everyone's forced to online, it's this like flooding in, which is wonderful. We're happy to support. It's exciting because we had all the resources ready day one. And, it's I still to this day, I'll see like a new ad on Instagram from some new app that's popped up, or suddenly like tried to get it together because there's like an interest in music tech. And I've said it since the first week of May. If it didn't exist in February, you shouldn't be using it now. Like, there's music technology is not new. Online learning is not new. It's just new to a lot of people. And that's okay. We're not judgy. We're just saying use what works. And we don't have to invent the wheel. And I think a lot of the frustration I see from teachers, and a lot of the frustrations I see just from people in general, people are frustrated. We're home. I get it. But every time I see frustration in one of the Facebook groups, I like to analyze. I look at it. I'm like, it's always because we're trying to figure something out on our own, or we're trying to make technology do a thing that we think it should do and not actually try to use the tool for what its purpose is. And if we just step back and say, hey, let me find something that works and start there, those that did that are in a very happy place right now. So we're, I hate to say lucky. I mean, no one's lucky right now with this horrible thing, but it's a great time to support a lot of educators. I mean, like, we're over 500,000 now and growing just in teachers and students using NoteFlight Learn for this. And it still grows every single day.
Well, NoteFlight was very quick to address the situation that was going to be coming to education and for educators. And you guys, could you tell us a little bit about what you did? Because literally, I think within 24 hours of these stay-at-home orders coming, NoteFlight had made a huge announcement.
Well, actually, to my knowledge, we were the first.
Yeah.
I've not seen, and I remember a weekend in March. I remember the day. I had just flown. I was at American String Teachers at a conference in ASTA in Orlando on Thursday. I flew straight back. I did Massachusetts Music Educators Conference on Friday. And then Friday night we got a news alert, and we were drinking at a bar, because that's what you do at music conferences, after really amazing presentations about music education and advocacy.
Lots of hard work.
And we got a note that said 3 confirmed cases at a conference in Boston, and it was at the Marriott Water. It was the Cambridge firm that had and Biogen that had it, and it was less than a mile from the hotel we were at, because we were at the seaport. And we just kind of said, this is really real. And we had a quick, I was with some of the executives on the board of MEA, and we was like, do they cancel? Like, they were talking about, do we cancel like our concerts tomorrow? Like, so, at the time it was like, well, this is all very new. But I remember Saturday, I woke up that Saturday. This is right before stay-at-home orders. We had just like had the kind of ship in San Francisco. Boston had picked up, of course, New York. And I just said, you know what? I should do something. So I went on Facebook as John Miylzyboy, put in the music teachers group, and said, hey, y'all, if anyone's schools is closed and you want to use NoteFlight Learn, you can have a free demo through June 30th. I just put it out there just to see, I thought it'd be helpful. So my phone just starts going, blah, 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 blah. I looked at it. I'm like, within 24 hours, it was 200 likes, 300, 400. Next day, I was over 700 likes, comments, shares. It was like, I am not that popular. Like, I'm like, look at me. I posted something popular on the internet. I like screenshot it for my mama. I'm like, look, I got 700 likes.
You're an influencer.
So Monday morning, I pulled our sales team together and said, I think schools are really going to close. I think this is really a thing. So we put on the NoteFlight Facebook page at that point. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, everyone's like, hey, I think we're going to extend things till June 30th. I'm like, you think? Yeah. And then all the schools started closing. So it's been, I wasn't sure at the time. I just figured, why not? What's the worst that could happen? Sign up a couple hundred folks. No.
Right. But the nice thing is that they get to really play with it and use it, because a lot of times these teachers don't have time in their daily schedule to invest time into a new piece of software, right? Or a new app or whatever it is. And this is actually affording them the time to be able to get used to it and to be able to because I've had some teachers comment, well, this is great, but they just want me to buy it. I'm like, okay, but you're in the perfect situation right now where you can go to your administration and say, hey, look, yeah, we need to buy this, because what happens if? And look what I'm doing with the kids. And the administrations are going to be a lot more open to do things now than they were before.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, and
So,
you came in, and this is not even just, I mean, yes, it was a lifeline in a moving from in classroom teaching to distance learning. But this is a tool that really, for 21st century classrooms, those are the goals, those are the educational objectives that we have. This is something that they can take the time, learn about it, and actually utilize once they're back in the classroom, too.
Right. This is not temporary. I mean, we've always said like people should create and perform music. I mean, in fact, we have these things called national standards that is create, perform, respond, and connect. And now is the time to create, respond, and connect. I mean, that's the ideal time, you know. So music teaching doesn't change, doesn't go away because we're online. It just looks different. You know, we're teaching the individual to practice, the individual to play music. We don't have the ensemble, and that is incredibly unfortunate, but we still have music. And these tools are not, you know, just because we don't have an ensemble. And I want to talk about, you know, what school's going to look like in August, because I have a pretty good idea from what I've been hearing. And it's important as music educators that we remember that our ultimate goal is not to conduct a band, and certainly not to do a virtual band, but to change lives through music. And you can do that and inspire people to be their best selves artistically and passionately through multiple ways. And there's multiple tools. Noteflight's one of them, but there's a lot more. I'll tell you, the other thing is that to me, it's never just about the notation software. It's not about, you know, give lots of theory assignments now that kids are home. I mean, Noteflight's ideal for theory assignments. I get it, but kids need to create. They need to know that they can have an idea and they can play that idea. That's why we have recording and all these performance features and cool things like that, and other cool things we're working on adding. Because, you know, it's not about doing the boring music theory at home when you don't have band, but like, let's find ways to engage. So we put on Noteflight. The next calls I made, I called Scott Edgar. And I think I wrote like, wow, kids at home don't know how to work from home. So I put an article on Noteflight about like how to set up your desk and how to focus at home. And I said, something's missing here. So I called a friend of mine, Dr. Scott Edgar, who's sort of the leading social emotional learning, SEL kind of expert for music education right now. I was like, Scott, like, when to do something. So he co-wrote this article with me for students. He came out with another one on Noteflight directly about how to use composition to promote social emotional learning for students. And then the next call was Dr. Alice Hamill, one of the leading music educators and specialists for students with special needs, because there's not all students can use the, you know, have the ability to use technology. And not only that, and reading Alice's article like opened up my mind too of like, wow, it's not only students with special needs and disabilities or on the spectrum, how we would normally think special needs, but, you know, there are students that might not have been at risk or special needs in person in school when they have structure and supervision, that suddenly at home in a computer isolated without, you know, working parents or whatever it be, they become special needs. And so special needs are not just on a spectrum or some diagnosis, but it's just how do you ensure that all students can learn online? I mean, some students that are, you know, maybe dyslexia or maybe like colorblind that have never really had an issue with black and white notes, but suddenly the screens, and there's all sorts of things we have to think about. Not to mention the students we have in poverty situations, right? We know as teachers, we know what students have, you know, by the time March hits in the school year, we know what the home situation's like for most students, and we kind of know who our babies need extra love and what their situations are. But we don't know that anymore. I mean, the upper middle class family, small business owners that have always been well off could both be out of work right now, and their business is bringing in no income because they don't have that business because of stay-at-home orders. And now there's a family struggling to go on unemployment and try to feed their children that have never had that before. And that brings stress in the home, that brings stress in families. So we can't assume anything on the other side of the screen, like all bets are off. So it's really important to me to not only talk about music notation, but like, no, like this is about social emotional. This is about serving all students. This is about getting everyone involved. So we really try to bring those folks together to add that piece.
Well, and I think that, and I'm just going to ask you this as a friend, because one of the things that I know that talking to other educators, what has become abundantly clear is the inequity in public education, because that was laid bare the moment we sent kids home. And that was really powerful. When I read the article, I was amazed because we sort of all jumped into this as educators, like, oh, these kids get computers and iPads and all that fun stuff. And so we're just going to blast them. We're just going to go in and give them lots of stuff. And everybody had to take that moment and go, hold on, like they might have somebody at home that can help facilitate this learning. They might not have, and if say they're a high school student and they have 8 classes, they have 8 teachers that are blasting at them, and it's like, and they're going through this social and emotionally too. They don't live in a vacuum. Those students are aware of what's going on in the world and how weird it is. So talk to us about what you think August is going to look like.
You're so right. And it's so funny with education because we just keep swinging the pendulum. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, and nothing has kicked us in the butt to really make change. So I can tell you I don't know if you know this part, but I have a degree in education administration. I'm a fully licensed principal. Wow. I went through my second master's in education leadership. And so I am certified arts admin. I went through that. My first master's is in trumpet. Let me tell you how, but tell you which one's more valuable. So I've been through this. I've interned at high poverty schools. I've worked in the State Department of Education. I've lived this world. And from a technology standpoint in that, we've studied like a lot of that's high poverty, giving every kid access and keeping kids on grade level. But with technology, we went through a few different shifts in the past. And I just keep saying to people, guys, we've done this before. This ain't new. Stop repeating history. Like, we don't need to make the same mistakes again. We had this grand idea with devices called BYOB, so that's the other one, BYOD. BYOB is another. Bring your own device, right? And we did this, and what happened, and there's research on this, and it said, well, wait a minute, that just further creates the equity gap of students, because we all know what kid has the brand new iPhone, and we know what kid has the busted flip phone, or the kid that brings in their we know exactly the income level of parents by that device. And there's also studies, I've seen this when I was supervising teachers, teachers like, great, everyone with an iPhone or an iPad, download this app and you're in this group. Anyone have Android? Okay, you do good. All right, who has something else? Okay, y'all wait over there and let me get this going. And as teachers, that's what we're trained to do. Like, you got to get something going, classroom management, bam, bam, bam. But what just happened? Everyone with the nice devices that everyone wants go here. Everyone's secondary to her. Anyone that's poor and don't have this cool stuff, just wait in the corner until I figure out what to do with you. But I want to call you all out and make sure the whole class knows that you are now the other group without the good devices because your daddy can't afford it. And that was happening. And we said, wait, so every BYOD implementation came back and said, wait, this is unequitable. So at the same time, Chromebooks came out. Now iPads came out, but they were, several $100s each. Chromebooks out there, 100, 150 each. You can break them. It's easier to throw it away. It's cheaper to throw it away than to repair it. It's beautiful. So Chromebooks come out, give one to a kid, they log in, they're good. So school's like, okay, now it's equitable because we're giving all kids the same device. Ha ha ha. Well, spoiler alert, the same research that shows us that a kid that starts kindergarten, like without having a home that's had read to them as much as a student who has it with less of vocabulary is going to be behind. It's the same with technology. There are kids that start as 5-year-olds in kindergarten that have used iPads since they were 2, and their parents use computers and they go on with them. And there's kids that don't get a device until they get to middle school and they get a school-issued Chromebook. And no surprise there that the same research is true, that those kids are still behind. And that's we're repeating the same thing. Oh, wait, everyone go home. Everyone take a Chromebook. It's all equitable. Give me a break, people. This is not new. This is not new. Right. So I'm glad you talk about that. And then how many kids don't even have internet access or access?
One of the school districts was like, okay, everybody had an iPad, right? They had iPads for school, but there's no internet at home. So it's like, okay, well, you people can actually come to the parking lot and park in the parking lot during these hours, and we'll turn the Wi-Fi on so that you can get on to your schoolwork. And this is the whole thing. There's such a far gap between people that needs to get shorter and needs to get better. So,
yeah, but you know what though? Like it takes something like this to have people really aware of it. Right. I cannot say enough that, and I've seen enough to know that like there's always something that I don't know, and that's what that I think gets us in trouble. Like we go at something and we act like we have to solve a problem, but take a step back, look what already exists, and look at history. Like, a lot of the things that we're trying to figure out for the first time now are just not new. They're just new to a lot of people. And as humans, I guess our gut instinct is like, I'm going to make this work. And look, I love all my music teacher friends, and God bless you for doing virtual ensembles. I've done 2 virtual videos. I did one with all of myself. I just did one for the whole Note Flight team. I spent over 24 hours collectively combined editing a 2.5-minute song with 11 people.
That's important to say, though. That's really important to say, because
right,
that consistently comes up for teachers. I just got an email from my principal, or I just got an email from somebody. Can you do a virtual choir? And it's like, shh, stop.
Oh, and we're here. So I have a lot of feelings of virtual choir. Look, you're lucky there's only coffee in my mug. We should do a cocktail hour later.
We could do that.
First of all, I totally respect that when this shutdown happened, we were just about to go to festival, and all of these kids had something prepared and they were ready for that peak experience. And we know those peak experiences are valuable in music ed. So I totally get that giving a virtual something so they have a tangible thing to represent the hard work that they put in for months is valuable. I get it. For everyone that's now, we need virtual and virtual bands. I will tell you, the teachers that have done it, I've done it a couple times. The problem is that every kid records once, submits to you, then the kid's out. You as a teacher, or you are hiring someone or editing and putting all this together, but music learning in an ensemble happens every rehearsal. Every time you do it again, you do it together. A virtual ensemble is not a replacement for an ensemble if you just take a blind snapshot of the end product. The end product's not as great, obviously, but what you're cutting out is the fact that all the friggin' learning in between is gone. Right. You're taking months of beautiful music making and growth and combine it to, you play one thing isolated, go away, and then suddenly you see some result, but you have nothing in between. And the in between is where we grow. So for that reason alone, it doesn't have a lot of musical value.
Right. Especially for the exponential amount of time that it takes to actually do it. So
if every teacher could take the time, the hours it takes to put together and edit those virtual times into creating online lessons and structuring lessons for their students, it'd be a much better place. So I'm not knocking virtual ensembles. I think they're great. They bring joy, but think about time versus value for your students, right? And I think that's the case to principals. Is like, I'd rather spend my 20 hours not editing audio, which, by the way, I'm not an audio. I mean, I'm an audio editor. I mean, I taught audio editing for 3 years to music teachers through PreSonus. Like, I'm telling you, I can do this, and I've spent years doing this, and it's really hard, right? And that's okay. So many teachers are like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do virtual ensemble. Is there a free app that can do it? I've never edited audio before.
No, stop. Go away. It's okay. Everything's going to be all right.
I tell you, I did start teaching a course at Vandercook, and I spun up a course on just how to teach online. Like, let's do that. Because the big shift is like we're trying to get everyone together and replace the classroom, but we have to go asynchronous. You need videos, you need structured things. There's a certain way that I've learned teaching online. I've taught online courses for over 6 years, every semester. And I've kind of figured out all the wrong ways to do it. So I started a class. It was a 4-week class. This is the last week. We're actually repeating it next month because the demand. But it's with Google Classroom. But I had 40 teachers right now, and I'm going through week by week how to make a short lesson video, how to do screen grabs for your kids, how to talk to the camera, how to edit the videos, how to structure a lesson, how to create things so students can turn things into discussions. And I just basically give outlines and let teachers make lessons for their students. I spend every Saturday morning, I make my coffee, I come sit here and I watch all these videos, and I literally cry. They're beautiful. What these and I will tell you, when I started this course, I had people come like, I've never used Google before. Okay, you're taking a course on creating lessons with Google, and like I had someone be like, how do I share a Word doc in Google? All right, we can do this. But I will tell you, I saw the first week of panic, and I get it. After the second week and the third week, only 3 weeks, it's amazing. I mean, someone that said they could never make videos before has like animations and funny tracks and background noises and clips to movies and switching back and forth, and like, it's beautiful. And so it's like, we can do this if you're just willing to try. And so there's so much positive out of that. It just really warms my heart. I'll send y'all some actually of the videos. They're just incredible.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. And that's just it. I said there were so many people that their greatest fear with technology in music was, what if I make a mistake? And this has forced us to go, yep, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, because that's how you're going to get through this. And I said, I do lessons through Zoom, and I actually, because the kids will come on, and I'm like, okay, hold on, you can't hear me, I can't hear you. This will take a couple minutes. We'll figure it out. And last night, my student was like, okay, we've been doing this for a month now. When are you going to figure out the buttons? I'm probably not. Okay.
And that's okay.
It
Right.
is. In the end, they get a lesson, and we all have a wonderful experience, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the ones that are frustrating me are the ones that aren't trying. We have some of our teachers that are doing in-store teachers that are doing online lessons and stuff like that. I have other ones that are just like, yeah, no, or can't figure it out. It's like, it's not that hard. We can help you figure it out.
Right.
It's not that hard. But if you're not willing to try, then no, I'm not going to do it for
because
you.
it's different, they won't try, because what they're accustomed to is sitting next to a human being and teaching that human being.
Well, maybe, and I'm going to say this on the recording too, but I had a conversation with some very dear friends the other night who are all very high up in very places. And we were kind of thinking about, this is the kickstart that music education needs. I mean, quite frankly, teachers are resistant to teaching online because they're not equipped as music teachers, because they weren't prepared with the skills needed to use technology for music. And not only the skills needed technology, I mean, think about this: audio editing and notation, two very basic skills. I think that anyone that's going to teach music in this world should be able to record audio and at least splice 2 takes together and slap some reverb on it and mix tracks. I mean, it just seems like everything we listen to in the world is recorded in Pro Tools or Studio One or Cubase or some of that. Yet we get music degrees and we've never even touched how do you, that's weird to me, right?
Right.
And then obviously, like, notation is not something to prove that you can write a French augmented 6 chord and resolve it properly on Theory 4 exam. Like, it's really about creating music. And yes, like, if you're going to teach music and you can't write a grade 1 band chart with like 5 notes and 4 chords for your kids, or arrange a quick song, like, if you don't have the chops to do that, like, should you be teaching music?
Right.
Like, it's amazing to me. And look, we support so many people at NoteFlight. Our support is actually top notch. I cannot speak high enough about our amazing team. We answer a lot of questions that have nothing to do with NoteFlight, straight up, like, just music notation in general. And it's totally fine. But a lot of people now are struggling. Well, how do I do this? It's like, well, actually, this is how you write music. And it's foreign to a lot of people because it's not about analysis. So I think I hope music preparation programs will realize that there's skills music teachers need, both in, using notation to create, composing, not for analysis sake, but for, reality, like realistic sake. But outside the technology, I think there's musical skills that a lot of us sometimes lack. We learn, and I have a music ed degree. We learn a lot about the ensemble and how to get everyone to blend and balance. We're really good at ensemble teaching. What we don't have a lot of experience in as much as coaching the individual. Like, what lessons as a teacher, like, how do I teach a 6th grader to be able to find a piece of music, figure out what notes to make it work, so when they play it on alto sax, it matches their brother's piano. Like, we don't teach those things in that way. So, like, even musically, being able to explain transposition or provide students with the resources they need, because I've taught transposition to 11-year-olds. They get it. Have you seen a 5th grade math book? Y'all, that's hard. That's really hard work. I'm sorry. If you can do 5th grade math, you can friggin' transpose key signatures. Come on, right? We just don't teach it. And these kids could do it. And so I think there's a transition as music teachers. We don't know what to do, and we don't learn that way, but we can. You can make music at home. In fact, we made a lot of music in the practice room. That's what you learn your primary instrument. You go in the practice room, you shed, you do a recital. You can do that.
Yeah, I said what might be happening in the secondary level is that we are no longer teaching band. We're no longer teaching orchestra. We're actually teaching music. Like, so those skills. And I said one of the things, Richard's band director had him sit in a practice room with a band teacher had him sit in a practice room with us, tuner.
We had to do with strobe tuners just so we could know the exact pitch of our instrument. They don't even teach stuff like that anymore. I mean, it's one of those things where they had the time that, so I was a trombone player. So positions are positions, but you're always taught that this is where third position is. But he would have everybody, didn't matter what the instrument, go in and chart your instrument. So you'd know that E flat, this is where it needs to be. This is where it needs to be in tune. And just to teach intonation and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's something that people can be working on now during this time, and things like that.
Not to be ageist, but in your day, you probably had $1,000 Peterson strobe tuner.
Yes,
sitting there, that big old blue hunk of metal that And today, every kid has the same technology right here, which is amazing.
Right.
Well, and you said it. John came and did a session for our Beaver County arts and music teachers, and you said it. Like, let them compose, and then when it doesn't sound right, ask them, what don't you like about it? And that's your opportunity to teach them theory. Teach it backwards. Teach them why it doesn't sound good. And you don't have to teach the theory first. You can teach it in conjunction with the act of making music.
And remember, it's only backwards from our experiences. It's not backwards to those kids.
Right.
It's actually forwards to those kids. They have music in their head. Let's get what they have down on paper. Now let's talk about it and make it better. And
it's much more meaningful because we've all lived through music theory classes where anything would be preferable. So
yeah. And I was also a math kid. Like, I really loved math. It's funny now because I spend more time being a persnickety writer about marketing stuff, but like English was never my fun part. I like diagram, anything, the English, the mathematical parts of English were fun, like diagramming sentences, because there was some structure to that.
Right.
But having said that, the 12-tone row part of music theory, I was like, numbers, I can retrograde all day long. Like, let's do it. And I haven't composed. I remember the only time in college I went home and composed a piece. It was, I wanted to play with 12-tone. Actually, I should probably find it. I have my old finale files living somewhere. But I remember I wanted to see what it was like to compose this piece that was used a 12-tone row for pitch, but I wanted to do it for rhythm too. So I converted my same tone row as each number represented a half a beat. And so, or actually it was a 16th note. And so 3 was a die. And so I created a tone row as pitch and rhythm. And then, so every time I would, try to, and so the rhythm would change and the notes and it all worked mathematically. I was so proud of it. And then I listened to it and I was like, I'm sure my mama would like that. But
going back to in my day, when I was in college, we actually used ink and quill to do notation. My first composition class was actually in inkwell and the whole bit. One mistake, you failed the class. Yeah, 2 years later, we did finally get a Mac inside the school, and then Finale came along and made life. Yeah, because you didn't know what it sounded like, right? You just had to know what it looked like and made sure it was right. And then until they actually played it, you were kind of like, well, yeah. I mean, you work it out on the piano and stuff like that, but now with the technology there is now and what you can do with, I mean, my son Gabriel sits around all the time writing music and arranging stuff and just for fun. And
that's beautiful, for fun, right? You don't have to have a product. In fact, the product doesn't matter. And to my point, the story I was telling, I realized I had so much fun doing this, and I got to the end and it sounded horrible, but God, I had fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. So I'm going to kick us back into the butt. What are you thinking August is going to look for music?
Right. I can tell you that the conversations that are happening right now at state levels, states are starting to form or have formed their reopening committees. And, for music teachers listening and for everyone listening, it is incredibly important that we all identify who our reopening committee is and figure out who's on it and make sure that we can have some arts representation on it. I think as an arts community, we do have to understand that reopening committees right now are focused on keeping people alive. And some of the decisions we're working on are incredibly heavy and incredibly unprecedented. I mean, we have to, so we're looking at, reopening schools in a way of we can't have kids congregate suddenly. It's going to kick back up again. Flu season is not going to be COVID and flu season. We pretty much know that at this point, right? So like it's probably coming there. But on top of that, you know, having kids come back to school, I've heard a lot of like half days. Maybe it's like half one population in the morning, no lunches, so we don't have to have all kids together then, half in the afternoon, keep kids more spread out and things, check temperatures. Do kids have to wear masks? Of course, you can imagine the transportation issues with that and parents that can't transport. The whole thing's a mess. But to reopen, that's probably what reopen is going to look like. I mean, if we think we're all just going to suddenly in August be able to congregate again, it's just not going to happen that way. And I hope you'll understand that. And I say all that not to be doom and gloom, but I do say that, you know, the concert band, and as much as a music person as I am, is not at the top of the list of these committees trying to figure out how to keep kids together without them spreading a deadly disease for which there's no cure. So having said that, I haven't, you know, heard the full extent of this, but there are possibilities that also, like, how do we keep, like, it's all about just keeping kids not going grade levels behind. We could see a situation where it's like, look, it is English and math only as much as we can to keep you on grade level, and we'll figure out the rest later. I mean, things like PE, you might not be able to congregate and sweat and spread droplets like that. I mean, football, sports, who knows if that's going to happen, marching band, all of these are going to be off the table. So I think we just need to prepare ourselves really for the worst case scenario of no large classes. That includes ensembles, that includes sporting events. I don't think it would be silly for a society to shut down as much as we have and then say, okay, everyone, let's have the whole school go Friday night and gather on the bleachers shoulder to shoulder and cough all over each other. Like, it's just, that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So I say this to say that as music teachers, it is more important than ever that we recognize that music is the glue of like emotional and social and artistic passion that keeps our students human and keeps them connected. And our response needs to be, no matter what school looks like in August, we can keep changing lives through music. Not keep teaching band or not keep the choir going, but we change lives through music. We connect our kids in a powerful way that they need more than ever right now. And we will find a way to keep doing this, whether it's blended learning, whether electives are online and math's in person, whether with small ensembles, no more than 10 people in the room at the same time, whatever rules you give us, we got you. Our administrators, our supervisors are stressed. By the time that the decisions come down to like, oh, do we have arts classes? They've already tried to figure out these monumental issues. They ain't got time for a fight. My biggest fear is any music teacher's like, no, I can't. My concert band matters. We got to have our marching band. You can't take that away. I'm going to tell you right now what they're going to do. Right? So we can't be those people. Mm-hmm. Music teachers, we have to be empathetic, positive, and we have to say, we got this. And I think it's more important now that every music teacher find your state reopening committee, find a way to get to them and say, hey, I just want to let y'all know that you don't have to worry about the arts because we're going to make this work no matter what y'all decide for the health and safety of kids, because we're going to keep these kids growing socially and emotionally during this time. We're the easiest part of your day. So just trust us. That is the most valuable thing we can do right now. And if we resist, we're not gonna win over the health and safety right now. So I don't want to see music programs cut, because we fight. We're in DC all the time. We fight a whole lot to keep music programs. We all know how much harder it is to fight to add them. Yeah. So when they're cut, it's a heck of a lot harder to get them back than it is to keep them. Absolutely. We need to fight to keep our jobs right now, and our jobs are changing lives through music. So we need to do that. It's just so important right now.
It's true.
Yeah,
it is true. Advocacy is going to be a new job title for music educators, where they may not have in the past. But it's advocacy in the quiet contemplation of, we've got this. You don't have to worry about it.
Right. And like everything else, it's not new. It's just new to a lot more people. I mean, Mary Lurzin said it for years. Be relentlessly positive, have a message. That's what we learn in DC. We do it, but it's just so important. Like, we don't have the luxury. We can't fight for bands. We need to fight to keep music alive for the reasons that make sense in today's world. And that is the connection. And I think it's important the assignments we create. I mean, the last assignment of my course is 3 kids have to connect through music somehow, whether it's this kid performs something, sends it to this kid to evaluate, who sends it to this one to do comments. You have to go a circle of 3 kids through music, because it's not just turning in assignments individually. We have to connect. We have to, as music teachers, say we connect people and keep them social and emotional and healthy and strong through music. And if we can't say that, I'm really afraid of what happens to music programs.
Yeah.
And that is the strongest leg that we stand on, because there's been a shift in education to acknowledge the social emotional learning of children. And every day that music teachers do that. Every day they provide that safe place. They provide that one space where they're allowed to be themselves, 100% themselves.
Right. And that's what I mean, honestly, instead of for an hour of editing a virtual ensemble, do an hour of a Zoom with your concert band just to say, hey, how are y'all? Or check in with each section and let them be quirky. Let the trumpets be arrogant. Let the clarinets be flat. Let the flutes be, like studying for their test secretly when you're messing. Let the percussion be, but just let them be themselves. Just spend time with them. That is so much more valuable than editing a virtual ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's so much better for everybody's headspace too,
Yes.
because kids scroll through movies all the time, but to actually interact and connect with each other.
And the other thing that all music teachers should do is now is such an important time to stock up on all your Hal Leonard repertoire through Brighton Music.
And there's the plug.
Thank you. This is your Bright Music Center. Almost brought to you by Bright Music Center. Locations at 1015 3rd Avenue and 2110 Babcock Boulevard, North Dallas.
All right. You're fun. Okay. So we're going to let you go. But before we do, so coffee we will send you, because Hallowed Grounds is our unofficial sponsor. I don't even know. Richard, did they even know they sponsor this?
Yeah, they know that they unofficially sponsor this, yes.
Okay. I mean, we sponsor it in the fact that we buy stuff and mention their name. Seems like a good deal for them. But
I'm there every day.
yes.
So
Yes.
I get cold brew every day. Every morning I go down and get cold brew.
Richard has an addiction. It's fine. It's fine.
Mine's actually cold now too. There's you ever heard the music teacher joke, like how to make cold brew as a teacher? Make hot coffee in the morning, pour it in a mug, teach all day, and then finally get to drink it at 4:00.
There you go. It's the invention of cold brew. We invented it. Yay.
Hey,
That's why I drink my coffee black, because it's just
it's just easier. That's what
Well,
I do.
John, it's always a joy and a delight to see you and talk to you.
Thank
I
you
have a
so
feeling
much.
we will not see each other for a year, maybe.
We'll hang out more. We'll do more virtual meetings. I will say I've been hanging out with people that I normally would never talk to on a Wednesday night, but you're just like, I need social interaction. Can we do a Zoom? So I've talked to people that I don't talk to ever. So it's been.
We're planning a virtual happy hour with a bunch of people, so we'll invite you along.
Yeah, it's been nice. So I adore y'all so much. I will say that y'all just truly some of my favorite people in the industry. I know, Beth, I met you at the first advocacy thing, and we've going back to just realizing we're both incredibly passionate people that will just fight and say whatever you got to say to make it happen. And I've always respected that in you, to realizing we both knew all the words to my shot randomly. There might have been wine involved. Oh, that was that dinner with. Oh yeah,
Yes.
offline.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But
I am a friend that will go with you to the Irish bar after somebody's had a little too much bourbon. That's all. That's all I would say. That is
you
true.
didn't. You did help me through a Reuben.
I did. It was
Yeah.
fun. There were stoners and mash. It was fun. It was good.
I remember that now. That was almost a year ago.
It was. It was exactly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up on camera.
You're welcome.
I don't know what she's talking about.
No.
Nobody was there. Nobody remembers. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank y'all. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you so much.
Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Hey, you too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.